Let's go live here. Welcome, everybody, to Discussing Tabletop. Are you ready to dive in today? We are November 16th. We definitely have reached the halfway point in November. I guess it's sort of like it felt like we were kind of like reaching that midpoint last week, but it really was still pretty early.
No. I mean, we are exactly in the middle as far as Saturdays go.
That's true. Yeah, well, because, it is the 16th out of, what, is it 30 or 31 days?
Well, there's 30 days, but it's there's 5 Saturdays.
Whatever reason, I was feeling like, I guess it's 2 weeks from now, but I was feeling like next week was already Thanksgiving, but it's 2 weeks from now.
No, it's 2 weeks.
Last week in November. Time's just flying.
Actually, you want to know what's really funny is I was actually thinking the same thing. I'm like, it's Thanksgiving. I'm pretty sure it's the last week, but I don't know. I feel like it should be next week. And so I looked it up just because I wasn't sure. So I actually had the exact same like mental block of like.
It's the last week because the first was on a Friday and it's the 4th Thursday of the month.
That's what it is. That's why it feels off. Okay.
Because
you're right.
it's the latest a Thanksgiving will be.
Yes.
So yeah. It's just a trick of this month. And then, like, I honestly have made very few plans for PAX Unplugged, and it's like the week after Thanksgiving. I have no idea what I'm going to do. I have to figure that out still.
Oh, that is, that's right away.
It's the 6th. 6th, 7th, 8th. I'll probably go for one day, but I don't know what day yet. If there is more things to do, I will go for multiple days, but I'm going to see and just maybe just for now. Again, it's just another year. I try to plan around people.
Yeah. Well, there's that. Planning around people, and then there's also planning around, what you think people can... my brain just totally... what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Look at the schedule and see if there's a number of things you want to explore.
I can see if there's any big announcements, but like Paizo's having an announcement, but they're having it online during PAX Unplugged, so it's not going to be at the place. And I don't know, obviously, if Wizards is planning anything big, because they did have some stuff on like the releases from last year, so maybe they'll discuss the Monster Manual. But I'm like, the Monster Manual, it's
honestly probably gonna. Yeah, I mean, they're gonna make the monsters a little bit deadlier at later levels. Cool.
Yeah. It's, of the things, of the excitement you could have, we've had the 2 books, which are probably the most excitement for getting a 5.5 for. Certainly, yes, the Monster Manual is going to get some updates, but...
Yeah.
Anyway. Since, it's another week. Chugging along on stuff, hey.
Speaking of the DMG,
yes,
officially released this week.
Yes, that's
good segue. Come on.
It is our first topic. It's DMG.
Yep.
We'll put the docket in chat and pin it. The exact cover I chose. You got the special cover too.
Yeah, I got the special cover.
So
you have to get it from Game Store. So I basically just ordered online from a game store to get it.
I've since it came out only looked into stuff a little bit. I guess with the previews, I dived into it a little bit too, but I really haven't sat down and really looked at what's supposed to be in the DMG.
I've actually read through a few sections that I was interested to see what they do.
Okay.
I'm very disappointed with their item pricing. I vaguely mentioned this, but let's see if I'm the right direction.
It is indeed. I see. It's just that's it.
Yep, that's it. So it's literally just commons are this price, uncommons are this price, rares are this price. Have the value for consumables except for spell scrolls, which have special rules now, which is actually kind of nice. And the only thing they mention beyond that is that like common magic items can be bought in towns or cities. Uncommon and rare are found only in cities. Rarer are sold in wondrous locations. And then like if an item has a item associated with it, like plate armor, you add the price of that item to the value.
Okay. Well,
that's literally it. That's all they give you for pricing.
Huh.
Yeah, plus, I'll let you go first.
I think it was the thing is, I think this feels the same problem I had with the challenge system from the first Monster Manual, the 2014 Monster Manual. I think I've talked about it more. I kind of like dove into it, studied it, and played around with it. The fact that there technically was a I'm trying to think of a word. It's breaking my brain here for a second. A varying degree between every level, like a CR5 in the old Monster Manual, which they might just be the same now. Two CR5s could be wildly different. One could be much tougher than the other. I think that's kind of what I'm seeing. And
I was
within magic items, uncommon, there are certainly uncommons, which I feel like would be 400. There are certainly uncommons which are like, wow, this is at the top end of 1,000. There is a swath of them here, and if they're all the same price, it means that I can get the crappy one for 400, or I can get the one that is like super epic. Because since they're like uncommons that change their stats.
Let's take, for example, okay, so here's the thing. Let's take rare. Assuming it's still the same, I actually haven't checked. And the bracers of defense, which give you +2 to AC, is rare.
Yeah.
And armor +1 is also rare. You can get +2 AC for rare, or +1 AC for rare.
Yeah, and theoretically, the bracers, would they stack with other armor you have?
Yes.
So it's sort of like
the only difference is you have to attune to the bracers and don't to the armor.
I mean, that can be something that comes up, especially in later games. But if I'm playing a standard game, which usually like if I'm going by, I don't know if they, again, taking a step back, I don't know if they've successfully managed to make later level D&D 5e work with 5.5. I don't. We haven't experimented.
We literally can't know until they release the monster manual. So
we haven't, and I feel like we need like a couple years of experimenting to get a feel of where the good level. You really do need time to get a feel where the levels work, for a game system.
Oh, actually, okay. So the bracers of defense actually wouldn't work. I just realized they do have a specification in here saying if you are you get +2 only if you are wearing no armor and using no shield.
But see, so that is a specification that's there now.
Yeah, I think it was before actually. I just remembered it's meant for mages. But anyway, my point still is that it's a +2 versus a +1. I guess.
But what I was thinking of was the which again, maybe it's not as powerful, but an uncommon magic item. At least it might still be in 2025 or 2024. It was in 2014. Headband of Intellect.
Yes.
Which gives you an intelligence of 19.
Yep. What rarity do you remember?
Uncommon.
Oh, wait, that was uncommon, and they might have changed that. Headband of Intellect is still uncommon.
Yeah. Now, granted, it's not strength in a lot of ways, but
it's honestly, Headband of Intellect, in my opinion, amazing for arcane. For what is the fighter arcane one?
Yeah,
Sword or whatever.
I guess for Eldritch Knight.
Eldritch Knight, thank you.
Or isn't there the Arcane Rogue build too? I don't know if that still exists.
I thought I think that's new. I don't remember that being. Oh yeah, no, it wasn't. It was in the last. Yeah, you're right. There's an arcane robe. They also use intellect.
Yeah. Or multi-classing, like for certain builds, probably that could go into things that use intellect. Yep, that granted wizard most of the time. But
it's still very good. It gives you a freaking +4. You can basically turn a +2 into a +4 with one item.
Yeah, it's sort of like it gives you a 19. That's just really good. And for an uncommon, for 400,
you're right. That is 400.
That's really goddamn cheap.
That is.
Like, I feel like, yeah, and again, it's that thing of, like, strength universally for when it comes to combat is technically better because it can be in multiple builds and stuff like that. But also, isn't there one of the,
well, the belts come in... Yeah, the belts come in different variants. Hold on. I'm flipping around a lot because we're talking magic items, so I need to find the action. Belt of Dwarvenkind. Belt of...
They start at rare.
Rare, yeah. So rare gives you... But rare gives you 21. The rare one is the base, and it gives you 21.
Yeah. But then again, aren't the next two up very rare? So why would you ever get the middle one and not the top one? Or for legendary, why would you ever get the Cloud Giant, not the Storm Giant? Maybe it's not available in your game world. I can just hold out for it. That's a very good point.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I'm actually just even going to show this. You know, very rare, 20... Yeah, it's like, so... Well, they're the same price.
Yeah.
Why would you get the lower one?
And again, you could go for, like, oh, that's the only one available, that may be the only one you'll ever find. But that's just... at that point in time, that's technically a DM being petty. I'm sorry. You know? Because the difference between 23, 25 isn't technically that much if you're allowing either of them. Same with 27, 29. It's not... It is a difference, but it's not, like, a huge difference. Especially when we're talking about when someone's getting a legendary. That's high-level play at that high point in time.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like... It's just petty that they don't get the better one. And having that...
Here's the thing. Every +1 is a +5% chance to whatever you roll.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So +2 is +10%. It's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's like if you're increasing from a rare to a legendary or a rare to the very rare, that's a good boost. I mean,
yeah,
a 10% boost to your rolls.
It's just it creates this weird complex situation that having them be pretty much the same price, and I think that's also like, what was the prices on that chart again? It went from 100 to 400 to
so.
Because I know the legendary was, what, 200,000? Which is very big jump.
Yes, it was 200,000 was that. I think it was like one... okay, so... oh gosh, yeah, so it's very weird. It's like times 10.
Yeah, so it's times 10 for each of them up to times
No, it's like, so it's times 4 for the first batch. Then it's times 10, and then times... 5.
Or 5. Actually, just 5. I'm sorry, you're right, 5.
Yeah.
And then prices for artifacts. But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting price chart for beginning, but I do feel like it really needs like price ranges almost or something. Or
oh wow, really then we're back to where we started. Price ranges.
Yeah. Or even just actual prices on these things where they have the guide of
they should have gone through and just written a price tag. Oh, actually, wait, hold on. Give me 1 second. Yeah, but they did go through and price out certain items. If I can find it. And then we can talk about XP budget in a second here. Actually, it hints at something that is not in this book, and I can only speculate that. Okay, sorry. I saw this, and while I'm trying to find, there's a section on poisons where they went through and they priced out each individual poison, and I'm just like, oh, why couldn't you do that with the magic item? You clearly have a format for it. Here it is. They went through.
Yeah.
You know?
I think, and I think I agree with that. You have a general price point of a starting point for all those things. Like uncommons, they are minimum 400, and then probably maximum right below like 3,999. Now, granted, you're probably not going to have it that high, but you could even have like the items priced between like 400 to 3,000 and call those the uncommons, and just give a price for each of them, and just kind of generally parse it out. I don't know.
Yeah, well, no. Well, so here's the thing: you could have given ranges, priced out all of the magic items you make, and then basically say if you make your own, do X. You know, now you have ranges for if you price them out yourself. Like, they should have gone through and priced them out, especially since they clearly did it in another section where they went through and they priced out poisons. But I actually wanted to take a second, since if you don't mind moving on from items and being disappointed with how they handled it yet again.
That's fine. Again, like, I know some people have been breaking down, like, changes in magic items. That's not where we're here today. It's hard to compare them. Because, again, this is the one thing that I'm actually really bad with 5e, is being familiar with a lot of different magic items.
True. No one ever hands them out in games I play in, or... I feel like that's very... Well, listen, like, they're not necessary. Like, that's the thing, is the game doesn't actually expect you to get them. It's weird. The way the enemies fight, you're actually... That's the thing, if you get magic items, the way, like, it is in 5.0, you basically... That's where part of the issue comes in, of you getting too powerful, and then sweeping through monsters.
Yeah.
It's almost like it didn't expect you to get any items.
Magic items really aren't built into it. They're like... Because there have always been, like, cool toys... But they're like, your character just because cool. And I'm like, but like, even a lot of, like, legendary heroes and stuff have cool techniques, but they've got, like, the items. Like, you know, maybe they aren't necessarily, like, super powerful magic, but, like, each item has its own thing to it, you know, like, you know, even, like, you know, you chat about, like, Lord of the Rings. They have, like, you know, known weapons or named weapons. Not all of them are magical, but at least they have, like, names that are known about, or, like, you know, something special to a degree, you know. This, like, the axe of my grandfather, you know, he used to slay, you know, 27 orcs, or something like that, you know. It's got a theme to it that's part of the character, too. And, you know, in a D&D, which is more of a magical setting, you expect these to be like, I've got this this magical sword, you know, that I've discovered, you know, or something.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be, like, a magic item shop like it is. It could just be, like, you know, it's the blacksmith shop, and he just happened to have, like, you know, a couple of magic items that he managed to acquire in the back, you know, that a wizard friend of him is enchanted or something that you can make a deal with, or, you know, something like that, that it makes it more like it's a normal shop. And it's not, like... I feel like that's something that was always a complaint about, is, like, the magic item shop, other than, like, potion shops or maybe scroll shops, always seemed a little strange. It could just be a normal shop for things that happens to have some magic items in it. And I think that is not a bad idea. It's like, you know, in a more magical world.
Okay. So I was just doing a thing.
A little rant. I ranted for a minute. It's okay.
Since that's fine, because it let me look something up. Okay. So, let's talk about XP budget.
Ooh, okay.
So there's two things here that I'm actually curious about. Because one of the things actually hints at something that is not mentioned in this book, and I presume it's going to be something in the monster manual. It says, where is the wording? Adjustments. No, many creatures. The more creatures in an encounter, the higher risk of a lucky streak on their part could deal more damage to the characters than you expect. If your encounter includes more than 2 creatures per character, include fragile creatures that can be defeated quickly. The guideline is especially important for characters of level 1 or 2. Fragile creatures. I think they're bringing minions back.
Okay. You know, I wouldn't mind that. I thought minions were a neat idea.
I love the idea of minions.
They were definitely a very cool idea from 4E. If they do bring them back in some way, I'm not against it. That's an aspect of 4E that helped a lot, because it's like, again, it's when you get to higher levels, unfortunately, even having minions that are lesser creatures, they are just damage sponges a lot of ways, because that's the way that 5e worked a lot, was damage sponging. So having just like some lesser minions you can mow down, you know, with like one good hit or something would be pretty cool.
Yeah, so this is speculation on my part, but I presume they're going to be doing some kind of minion mechanic because of this wording. They're going to call them fragile creatures. Now I want to talk about but I also want to point out there's no adjustments for having multiple creatures like there was in the previous version. That's the other thing I noticed.
Okay.
That means that the XP budget now still does not properly quantify for larger numbers of people. Also, the XP budget gets a lot bigger. So first off, they have low, moderate, and high. And whereas before they had easy, medium, hard, and deadly. Low is equal to medium, and then moderate is equal to hard in the previous version, and high is equal to deadly in the previous version. So moderate is now hard. So basically, they just threw out easy, which is probably fair because easy was too easy. Easy was like one creature, you know?
Yeah.
So that makes sense. But also, the encounter difficulty goes up way. The encounter scaling goes up way higher. It stays about the same actually it stays exactly the same until level 8. Nope. Level 8. Then it starts to go up. Actually, that's kind of interesting because the next level 10 is actually. Oh yeah. No, that's right. Yeah. So from there, you now have much bigger XP budgets. So basically, part of how they're fixing it, I'm guessing, is just by making, giving you bigger XP budgets at higher levels. Potentially also making higher creatures more difficult to compensate for that. So like you'll still be fighting like one or two big creatures. So that's just an interesting thing I noticed. Yeah. So basically they're basically increasing the difficulty after level 8 versus, compared to the old version by basically just giving you a higher XP budget for each. In fact, at level 20, the deadly is lower than the moderate is in the new version. So deadly in the old version is lower point total than 20 is in the moderate value. Also, because you don't add a lot, because the number of creatures don't increase the creature's CR or sorry, point value or whatever, it does mean like you can actually have a lot more monsters. So it's interesting. I'm curious to see how this will work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not a lot. It's interesting that I'm like kind of like looking through stuff here on the DMG from a couple of sources, and like none of your stuff that you mentioned, which is all very interesting, is mentioned on D&D Beyond when they talk about what's in the DMG 2024, and I'm like, yeah, well,
that's why
avoid these things.
I literally looked for things that were not mentioned explicitly or that were hinted on and not elaborated on. For example, the example adventures.
Okay.
I actually like them. I was very skeptical of these. I read through 3 of them. They are good notes for building an adventure. They do not give you any, like, you know, they give you a situation. They break down the situation. Then give you a hook. Basically, like, the characters might live in the village, or a contact of the Free City of Greyhawk might ask them to investigate. You know, a few options. You can also think of more, but it gives you, like, you know, 1 or 2 ideas, and then it gives you each section and a few encounters, like you know, the first fork. They can tell, like, it just says the characters can tell the source of the stream is the source of the pollution, and then it goes like, oh, and then they run into a treant at whichever way they go. Illusion of choice. Then they twig blights outside of the cave, and then inside the cave use the map from appendix. Use this map from Appendix B. Then they give you options for how to get around. Like there's a bear that's sick from and mad because it drank the poisoned water, and the treant apparently gives you something that casts that basically is like it's like an acorn that if you swallow it, it casts lesser restoration on you, and like if you somehow can feed it to the bear, it's a So I'm like, it's a neat little adventure.
Okay, that's good.
I think it gives enough to where you still have to build it yourself. Like you still have to go through and plan out a lot more. It's not so self-contained to where you can just, but it gives you all the encounters. You don't have to calculate them out, and it gives you some neat ideas and workarounds and gives you some thoughts about like other ways the players can approach the problem. Okay. I think it does a pretty good job about being a nice little contained adventure.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I actually would not mind if they wanted to at some point release a giant book of this. It would be great for people starting out. Imagine like, because it only takes like the level 1 ones only are each like a column, One column is the adventure. The later ones get a little bit bigger. This one's 2 columns. Also, I like the picture of Minsk and Boo.
Yeah.
Being confused about dancing with a elemental or a dryad or whatever that is. Yeah. It only gives you examples for, it gives you a level 1 adventure, a level 2 adventure, a level 3 adventure, a level 5 adventure, and a level 7 adventure.
Well, it does seem like there's some interesting things there, but then the question is, like, I guess it's another one of those things is, it's hard to tell, like, is it... Okay. It's probably better than the 2014 DMG, because that was bad, right? Oh, like...
no. Okay, I'm going to say overall, this is better. I'd rather have static prices than range... I would rather have static prices that are dumb than ranges, which I have no idea what to do with.
Okay, that's a good point. Like, I think that's the thing is, like, I wanted to go back to ranges because it was, like, at least it was something, a little bit, like, but I guess static prices in a way are better, even though it has issues. And I'm guessing, like, honestly speaking, if you feel like something should be more expensive. But
yeah, I mean,
I think this.
I just changed the belts to be, well, this one's slightly lower, this one's slightly higher.
I think that's the thing that. It's the thing that I complain that it should be something you shouldn't have to do. It's something that you should have the option of doing. And that's why I dislike about that.
I think it would have been better. Honestly, again, and I'll say it again, I think they could have spent a little more time and gone through and priced it out. The problem is, I almost guarantee this, the reason they didn't price out each item is because of time.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of playtesting and a lot of testing of value of like what each one should be about worth.
How they compare to each other. It's one of those things of like,
some of it can be done by math, but some of them can't.
It's the tweaking of monsters. We might not have a lot. We might still have those same differences, like, between, like, I'll take the example. I was looking at CR5 monsters when I was trying to design some custom monsters, and that's when I kind of ran into the, wow, here are some vastly different changes between CR5 monsters. Yep. It still might be there in the monster manual. It might be...
I will admit, I did not look at monster creation, so I can't comment too much on that.
It just might be something that's part of the entire thing that we can't get away from, that there's going to be some variety between monsters, and a DM just has to recognize that.
In fact, I'm curious, did they actually include monster creation in here? They might include that in the monster manual, because I don't, now that I mention it, I don't remember seeing it.
It might be something in the monster manual. That feels like something that they would kind of put in there.
I would actually like them to have put it in the monster manual. That way you can actually compare it to other monsters.
Yeah.
Let's see. Running game. No, DM toolbox. Creating junk.
I'll at least put the link to Wizards post on stuff that's in here from this week.
Wizards.
Have a link. To see some of the things. Again, like, these are just the topics they've been discussing, because I think it's the stuff they're most proud of for stuff they've done, which, honestly speaking, it all seems a lot fine. Like, again, like, I feel like another takeaway that I've had from the way they've discussed it and the way that's presented is the Bastion system is just basically a slightly rehashed version of the old Bastion system that was in Unearthed Arcana. That's fine. That wasn't bad. Yes. But I do feel like there is a focus on having something equivalent to a Bastion under players' control. Which, I gotta be honest, I don't mind, but is also something that I feel like 50% of games shouldn't have. And it feels like they want to push that as something that players should use more.
I think the problem is it depends on... Let me put it this way. In what do you call it? In the Records of Evil game, a Bastion would have been great. Some kind of like system where we like build something up. Yeah. But you know, I agree that it's not for everything. I think 50% is.
I gave one in Children of Wrath, and it fucked things up.
Okay.
That's what I can say about there. I should have not given one in Children of Wrath, which was a traveling story more, and given you one in Records of Evil.
Yes. Yep. And that's the thing, is it's more about, because like that's the thing, we always return to the same place in Records of Evil.
Yeah.
We had a place of operation. My disappointment with the Bastion system is the events and how they work and how like Bastion turns work, because it's like the only way you start at level 5, meaning you have 3rd level spells, right? Mm-hmm. Meaning as long as you have a wizard or someone who has the sending spell, you can always take a Bastion turn, because that's basically the thing. If you have sending, you can spend a spell for the day when your turn comes around to issue an order. Okay. The only time anything bad can happen is if you don't issue an order. And you take the maintain action, then you have a 5% chance of being attacked. There are some other little bad things, but like the 5% of being attacked. But then I have a whole problem with the attacked thing, because it's like you roll 66, and for each one that comes up when you're attacked, you lose a defender. If you have no defender, each one rolled is instead that isn't a defender, blocked by a defender, is instead a destroyed facility. Your Bastion isn't destroyed if they destroy all your facilities, so it's not like you have to focus on that. So there's not really what it does is it can't be used for the next turn because it's in repair, and then you can use it again the turn after that. So basically, it knocks it out for a turn. It doesn't give you a lot of reason to build a barracks. Let me put it that way. The 5% chance to have like all of your facilities destroyed for like one Bastion turn is, in my opinion, not worth taking up a whole slot for the barracks. Unless you have all your players combine their Bastions, in which the only benefit of combining your Bastions is that it shares defenders. Meaning you can have one person.
Would each person have their own Bastion?
Yes, that is the rules. Each person is supposed to have their own Bastion, or you can combine the Bastions into like one big Bastion.
I'm sorry, that mechanically, like, I'm sorry, that's even worse in my mind, because I'm like, how the fuck does that happen? Because a Bastion's like a fortress, a base of operations. How do you get 4 random schlubs, let's say a team of 4, each with their own fortress in a region, even at level 5? Level 5, you're good, you're heroes. Yay! I have my own fortress heroes. That feels like own fortress is like around like 10 to 15th level.
It's not necessarily a fortress. It can be as simple as, like, at the first level, a tavern.
Everybody has their own shop, though. Still, it feels too grand for the level. It's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that feels ridiculously grand.
Especially since if you combine your stuff, each person gets 2 facilities when you start. Meaning, let's say you have 4 players, that's 8 facilities, such as, like a garden or a laboratory. Well, a laboratory is higher level. A library, a sanctuary, a garden, storehouse, etc. And they all do different things. And that's the thing, is that, like, yeah, you basically get a bunch of stuff. None of them are that great. You don't get a lot from them. It actually implies that, like, most of the profits and business from this goes to maintenance. So you only get a little bit on top, which is cool. That's a good way to justify. And actually, that's how I would justify it. Not giving players, like, 1,000 gold because they wanted to liquidate their business.
Yeah. All right. I do have one more comment on this then that I'm just thinking of. If it's... What is the benefit then?
It's what you get. So, let's make an example. Every 7 weeks, or it says if you have long gaps in your games, you might want to do it once a month. So, you basically, as a GM, determine how often they take a bastion turn.
Mm-hmm.
There is one thing that I feel like is slightly poorly written, but I'm pretty sure it says you basically can issue 1 order to each facility. So let's say you have 2 facilities, because that's what you basically start with at level 5. You could do a library, which has the research order, and so you can issue the research order. Okay, this is what I don't understand. I'm gonna actually go over this real fast. Orders. On a bastion turn, a character in their bastion can issue special orders called bastion orders to 1 or more of the bastion's special facilities. A character needn't issue an order to all their special facilities in their bastion on a given bastion turn. That implies that you can issue more, to more than 1. But there's a different number of different orders, and my thought was, can you only issue 1 order each turn? Meaning, like, you have to issue a craft order to all the ones that can craft? Or can you go a craft order to one, a research order to another, a harvest order to the next, etc.? I don't feel like that's super clear. I'm pretty sure it's the latter, but the former I also think would be a great way to limit if you feel like the bastions are too powerful. But I wish it was clearer. But I'm pretty sure it's the latter. I'm pretty sure you just issue a different command to each one, which is basically just make it each do its own thing, because they all only have 1 order type.
Sounds like they wanted something really cool, and they kind of put together their cool ideas, but, like, I don't know. It is a playground for creativity, but I also feel like it's the kind of thing I wouldn't want to have new DMs focus on. I'm sorry.
I agree. I don't think it's a good idea for a new DM to actually focus on this. 100%.
But again, with them advertising it so much and throwing it out there, it sounds like that's what they want.
It is a whole section dedicated to it as well. Anyway, but let's give an example of, like, what you can get out of it. Like, the smithy, you can do craft magic item on the smithy, but you can only do that if you're level 9 or higher. So let's go craft smithing tools. You can the facility's hireling craft anything that can be made with the smithy's tools using the rules in the player's handbook. So basically, you can just get your hirelings to get you a free item once a week, as long as it can be made with smith's tools.
Okay.
I will say that is kind of powerful. Oh, using the rules in the player's handbook. So I assume let's see, it has 2 hirelings. So in theory, I would assume that it basically uses the rules. Like, if you wanted plate armor, it can use the rules for helping. Basically, 2 people working on a thing to make, let's say, plate armor, which is like, it would take you, 300 days for one person and like 150 days. So I think you can issue that, and that's what they're working on for the week. So
okay.
Yeah. You can commission non-magical books. The work takes 7 days, so basically 1 bastion turn. That's a scriptorium. You commission a spell scroll containing one cleric or wizard spell of level 3 or lower. The facility has the necessary cartographer supplies to describe the scroll, and the hireling meets all the prerequisites to describe the scroll. The crafting equipment section specifies the time needed with the scribe to describe the scroll and the cost of the scrolls, which you must pay. So you still have to pay the cost, but people are just working on it in the background. That's a lot of these. There is one that I thought was neat, and I would probably want to include no matter what. Where was it? The garden, I think. Yeah, garden. Harvest. You can harvest garden growth. When you issue the harvest command, order the facility you commission facility's hireling to collect items from the garden. Is this what I wanted? 7 days, cost no money. No, greenhouse. Nope. I thought the garden was one. Anyway. Enlarging the facility. A vast garden is equivalent to 2 roomy gardens and can include 2 of the same garden or 2 different types. When you issue the harvest order of the vast garden, each component garden produces its own... No. Here it is. Garden types. Decorative, food, herb, and poison. If you have an herb garden, you can get a potion of healing in a week. So basically, once a week, you can get a potion of healing. There we go. Sorry, I forgot. So it depends on which type of garden. And you can get up to 2 gardens in one facility if you pay 2,000 gold to increase the size.
I mean, you get some free resources, which is nice, but you don't really get a lot of stuff, it sounds like.
No, it's not a lot. And if you get level 9, you can do the greenhouse, which allows you to get a potion of greater healing. It's kind of the same thing. You can gain a fruit that gives the benefits of lesser restoration. One plant in your garden has 3 magical fruits growing on it. Any creature that eats one of these fruits gain the benefit of restoration. Fruits aren't eaten within 24 hours of being picked. They lose their magic. Oh yeah, so basically, if you're in the garden, you can basically cast lesser restoration on your fellows with the greenhouse. Because you have to do it basically that day, so you have to be there. So that's not one that you can do through sending and just get the fruit sent to you. Unless you have a way of doing that. Arguably, that you might be able to. You can also then do the potion of greater healing, so it's just a few, or harvest poison. Yeah, and you can do poison for the garden as well. It gives you a basic poison. It's neat. It's not outrageously good, but I think that's the point. So players can't just get a ton of stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It takes time and energy it takes time to get things to happen. If you wanna craft a suit of plate armor, you have to wait for your 2 guys to build it in 150 days or whatever. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the Bastion.
Yeah,
it's okay.
It's okay.
I think it's fun if you've got a reason to have a Bastion. I don't think it's as all-encompassingly useful or as they were advertising it. Anyone can have a Bastion as long as you're... they actually did say in their videos, if you're traveling a lot, it may not be good to have a Bastion. If you're basically traveling around. But if you have a hub, then... Hello?
Hello. I'm good again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I had a little bit of hiccup, but I could tell the hiccup was happening. So it was all of a sudden there was a little bit of a surge in the sound broke. Because it's sensitive! Yay! It's fine. At least when I notice it, I can fix it.
I would have noticed it soon when you were speaking. I didn't hear you.
I just all of a sudden things that's weird. Hey, something's happening. No, it sounds neat. I just am it sounds like a neat optional system that kind of, and again, I think I remember someone compared what they had released with the Unearthed Arcana one, and it's basically it's very close to it, Yeah. So it's sort of they've printed out the Unearthed Arcana stuff and refined it a little bit. Cool.
Yep.
I just don't know if they needed to advertise it as much. I'm just gonna say. Yeah.
They have rules for creating spells and creating spells and I just realized that because there's a lot of green in this picture. It's Green's green. But yeah, they have rules for creating spells. It's kind of nice to know that like they have damages for different spell levels. So it's like I this is something I've always wanted to know how to balance. Like how many damage should like it do if I'm like casting a spell? Obviously they vary, but it's kind of nice to know, and then you can probably work around these averages a bit.
That's good. I think that sounds like a very good, interesting thing to get into this year. They kept that.
We should move on. You're right.
We should probably move on. That was a pretty good visit of the DMG. We might do another one. Maybe
I think it is vastly improved the old one.
Yeah. If you don't have the old one, certainly I would definitely recommend this one. Even if you do have the old one, there might be stuff in here that you can really use. I would definitely suggest at that point in time, just look into stuff. But this is like one of those ones that I still have complaints, but I definitely could very much so recommend it a lot more.
I have complaints as well, but honestly, I think like in some cases they went too far in the other direction, like with the magic items where it's like we gave you no input on price or no guide on price. Okay, well now here is the price with no guide on how to vary it. So they went kind of the opposite direction.
Yeah. So, all right, I'm gonna have us move on then to talking first about we got some Pathfinder. You got to be talking about something in the second here before we talk about that.
I have another rant, but this one's going to be shorter.
Yes. We do have a Humble Bundle. I'll put the Paizo link here where they talk about another Humble Bundle that they're putting out, but it links at the bottom to the thing. It's Pathfinder Remaster Humble Bundle. With the Remaster of 2nd edition being a year old, which I didn't even think about that it is actually a year old. Damn.
No?
They say that. It's been a year since they released Pathfinder 2nd Edition Remaster.
I mean, I feel like it's been a year since they announced it, but I'm pretty sure the remaster came out in... When did it came out in... Hold on, I'm going to look this up. But anyway, you can talk more.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the core book. Pathfinder Player's Core.
That's what I'm looking up. I know how to look this up. I actually have a page I look at sometimes. So just let me do this while you talk.
The original Player's Core was indeed announced and according to
November 15, 2023. That's when it was released.
Yeah.
Wow. Literally a year from yesterday.
Yeah. So it does have the Player's Core and GM Core in there, so it's not all 4 of the core books. I don't think it didn't see if it had a Monster Core.
Oh yeah. So you're talking about the bundle. It has.
It's got the bestiaries, so bestiaries 1, 2, and 3.
It has Monsters of Myth. That's not a Pathfinder 2e, is it?
Lost Number Monsters of Myth. Well, the first 3 basic bestiaries. So it's got some older stuff and newer stuff. And it's got a bunch of these scenarios, map packs, and stuff they put together with these, and a couple of the adventure paths, too.
I'm actually curious about Monsters of Myth. So I'm like, I'm going to have to buy it. It is. Nope, that's 2021. They have not done a remaster of that. Okay, yep, no.
I don't think we're going to get any more of the actual remasters. They might just post stuff. Anyway,
actually,
it's good.
So here's my... Okay, I actually have a thought on this. I think they are going to remaster all of their core rulebooks. But because like at least and if not all of them, at least the ones with classes.
Well, I think they'll remaster them.
Doing Guns and Gears.
That's right, they are doing Guns and Gears then. I
think they're remastering Guns and Gears, and that was a later one. That wasn't even like one of their most their most.
But it was very popular. Like, Gunslinger has always been really popular, interestingly. Like, I don't mind the Gunslinger, but it was it was a weird class in a lot of ways, in some ways, because for first edition, guns were just different. So, I can't remember how they changed in second edition. I remember I looked into it, but I honestly haven't looked into it recently. I never really looked into the Guns and Gears stuff, too.
I have a suspicion that they will actually go through and redo a lot of their books. Probably lost all their Lost Omens and rule books.
They might
To
do
get all
some.
of their.
They might do
But
like
it'll
another
take a
rogue
while.
guide with some updates. You know,
They're
I would feel like
probably
they
going to do
would.
like one or two. They're probably going to do like one or two a year.
There's
like
there are a couple of places and things where there is parts of stuff which is probably hard to have old lore with, because there's certain countries that like I don't know what's going on with them because they've updated the lore in heavyweights. Other ones are a little easier to like figure out what's going on because like things like, you know, Cheliax, Asmodeus. Asmodeus is still Asmodeus. You know, he hasn't really changed. Hells have changed the way it's formatted in a lot of ways, you know, and things like that, because it's like it's not the Abyss anymore; it's something else. I can't remember its name. I gotta learn that. It's, you know, they've changed some. Hell is still at least Hell because that's, you know, easy to keep, and it's still the 9 Hells because hey, it's Dante. It wasn't D&D. Thanks, Dante. We can keep that.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the Humble Bundle. If you aren't like me and have bought like all of the Pathfinder books,
it'll at least give you the player core and GM, which is good.
Yeah, I'm surprised they don't give you the player core too, because I can see not doing the monster manual and stuff, but
I think it's because it is still a little newer.
That's fair. It is the most recent one.
Yeah, of the core rule books and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but anyway, you got.
Core... Yeah.
You got.
But yes, I
Divine
have
Mysteries.
Divine Mysteries.
By
the way, I'll basically be getting all of their new books now because I did subscribe to their stuff, so I'll be getting all their Lost Omens and rule books. Although I'm not actually going to be getting I haven't subscribed to the rule books yet because I've already pre-ordered them too far in advance, so I can't. They don't have a way to cancel orders as far as I can tell. Which is interesting. I might be able to like email their customer support, but it's like I can't just. There's no button.
Okay, there's no
website.
Easy button for it. No button.
Yeah,
there might be a way, but it might be like they're not going to do something.
So basically, this is just literally a bunch of information on all of the gods. They give basically the way it works, you have like 4 pages about about 4 pages for each god in the Inner Sea region. Then other gods get 1 page apiece. You know, so like 1 page apiece. And then you have like other like related divine figures get like parts of a page.
Well, there's certainly some regions that have a lot of deities that would be hard to define not on their own. Like I know, like Vudra has their own deities. Yes, Iori is in the Inner Sea region and spread outside Vudra. There's a whole lot of bajillion other Vudran deities, the TNZ deities, Mwangi Expanse. Osirian? I'm curious if they have just the Osirian deities. Okay, so they do have some of the major Vudran deities, at least. That's good.
No, like, actually, the single pages, I just realized, so all of the other gods they have are single page. They have a lot. I don't really want to just go down a list. They also include avatar stats for if you have the avatar ability for every single one that they have in here. Yeah. And they also give, you know, the benefits for everything. So like, you know, if you're a cleric or a champion, what you get for those. Okay. Which is nice. So they give you everything for all of them. Now, here's the thing that I thought was interesting that I wanted to mention. And that is, they do have orders and pantheons. So they give you a lot of information on orders and pantheons, basically groups of deities. One of the more interesting things, and okay, cool, like you get information on that. That's neat. I think one of the cooler things is they give you rules for if you wanted to worship a pantheon instead of a single god. So you can basically choose as your, you know, for like a cleric, you can choose your patron to be a pantheon of gods. So basically a group of gods, which I think is neat. I thought that was a very neat change. They have rules for it. You still have to pick a single deity, as well as like your main god, but then you can pick a pantheon, and then you get the benefits of the pantheon. Although you still have to follow the edicts, and then you can pick between the deity and the pantheon for stuff. I think it's cool. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They give a lot of there's a lot of new domains in here. For example, the dragon domain is in here. Domain of change. Domain of abomination. Domain of disorientation. Domain of dust. Domain of metal. Domain of swarm. Domain of toil. Yeah. Okay. This one is actually cool. So they're doing the class archetype things now.
Mm-hmm.
The Harbinger, which is basically a subclass that is, as far as I can tell from my quick reading of it, it's basically a divine magus using the cleric as a base.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it's basically like spell swords, but as like with a cleric base.
Yeah. Sounds like a very nice book.
Yeah. They have a few extra archetypes, and something that I found interesting is they actually have some feats for different classes and stuff that they say, note, if it has the mythic trait, you must have the mythic, you must have a mythic path to pick this feat. So they're actually going into mythic and actually including just some mythic feats in the middle of all their other feats.
I think that's a pretty good idea, because they've found, like, again, I do want to experiment with their new mythic, but it sounds like they've kind of found a way to make it work a lot better than the mythic did, and incorporate it a lot better.
As another class. Yeah, as archetypes.
As archetypes. Sorry. So having more support of it is also good, because they really didn't give a lot of support to the original mythic. They came out with like a book and called it a day, pretty much.
Yeah.
And one adventure.
One more class archetype, the Palatine Detective, which is a investigator with divine powers.
Ooh. Neat.
So it's a and a few more archetypes and stuff. I think it's cool. I think they have a lot of stuff. Like I said, I wasn't going to go as into it. They have a lot of witch patrons and other stuff. And then they have an appendix with all of the junk.
All the other stuff.
Lots of pages of all the deities.
So
this is just the appendix of deities. This is like literally just a list of deities and what page they're found on.
Yeah. They're doing their best to sort out the mess, which is the divinity upon Galarian.
Honestly, that's good, because that's the most confusing thing to me in the universe, is that they do have a shit... Like, okay, hold on. I'm going to go through and count the number of pages of their list of deities. Each one has, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Like, about 20... It has about 20 per page, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 pages of deities in the appendix.
Yep. It's a lot.
I have a shit ton.
Well, it's the kind of thing that is very interesting, because they're like, well, yeah, like the Inner Sea region, it's just one region, but like each region has their own faiths and pantheons and divine beings, and some of them overlap, some of them don't. It honestly feels more of a global system, where there is this kind of like spark of divinity that has been around, and people have connections to it.
Yep. I mean, honestly, Tantus, if you wanted to start doing a video on all the deities of Galarian, this book will basically cover.
Oh, I have so much to finish up. That might be after I finish up like decently ancestry / some of the monstrous ancestries, and then a lot of country regions. So.
Add it to the list. You'll never run out of You'll never run.
I mean, really, like as soon as if I've also been doing like larger than like big characters too. Like, there's a lot to do with like the Galarian lore. Fortunately, they have a lot of it, and there's plenty of it that I don't have to worry about remastering because it's just it won't need it,
Yeah.
Unless something major happens with that character, it's not coming up again. That kind of thing. This character or this place has been here. Anyway,
I wonder if they have the god that died in here.
Gorham?
Yeah.
I don't know. If they have Gorham.
You move on, and I'm gonna look.
All right, we'll move on then. Let's talk about Path of Glory. We've talked a few times about Dragonsbane, as supported by Freely. I'll put the link here into the chat. But we're getting
on the rule book for Dragonsbane.
Basically a major adventure campaign here. This is a reprint of an old one that was originally printed in 85-86, updated to the newer version of the rules that we've had out recently. I'm going to tell you, may or may not have been out in English before, because the originals that were basically in Swedish were out in 85-86, and there were 3 adventures that were connected. This is them compiled together in the Path of Glory campaign book. It is, again, because we're 86, that's like, what, 40 years out? Nearly 40 years out. It's definitely been reimagined, redone, refixed a lot of things. And it's, it's one big book.
I want to make one correction. It wasn't 24 pages, it was 12 pages, because I just realized, I just really didn't look super closely. Apparently each one goes all the way across, so it's only 12 pages. 12 pages of about 20 deities, which is still a shit ton.
So again, it's latest editions of Dragonbane. It has a double-sided map that's included with it. So, that's very helpful for maps for the game, I'm assuming, So yeah. It's really cool that they're looking at their history and bringing back classic. And again, it's one of those things is, I know in our latest editions of Dragonbane, we've been printed in English. I don't know if it has previously. So it's one of those things because I'm unsure of that. This might be the first English printing of these. Again, official. I don't know. You'd have to look that up yourself if there was old versions. I can look that up actually quickly. Gates of Power, Dragonsbane.
I do want to try Dragonsbane at some point. It looks pretty neat. I own the books. I own the core rule book.
I'll let out. Let's see. I'm seeing the Path of Glory, but I'm not seeing like the original book out, other than maybe if it was out in the original Swedish language. So this might be the first printing of it in English. I can't, on a quick search, I can't find it. So cool. I always like when people are printing actual adventures for their systems because it helps out. A,
it does.
You can run it, and B, even if you don't run it, it kind of shows you how you really should format adventures in their system. As the people that wrote the system, they kind of have an idea how you should format your adventures. It's as like Worm was talking about with the 5.5 DMG, the sample adventure kind of things that give you an idea how to run an adventure in 5.5. It's the same kind of way on a bigger scale, and you might want to run this too as like your first introductory to it, and then go on to doing your own in the world. It's a good start. All right. So
this is interesting. Sorry, I was looking for Gorham, and I found this, which is basically a map of who likes and hates who. If you notice all the red lines, they all point to Rovagug.
I mean, he only wants to have the entire universe be destroyed, in an apocalyptic fire,
Yeah, there are some that point between others, but yeah, Rovagug is like Rovagug is aligned to like all of them.
we have a...
So I guess even gods don't like even like the evil gods don't like Rovagug.
Yeah, because most of the evil gods are like, we want to have things here to like corrupt souls and have minions and stuff like that. We would like a universe. And Rovagug's like, no. I'm telling you, nothing existing. Everything blows up. It's a great idea. Trust me on this. Trust me, bro. Good.
Anyway, Gorm is not in that book as far as I can tell.
He is technically dead. So
he is. Yeah, I mean,
sense.
they mention him as currently dead.
Makes sense.
Yeah, they do mention him in that like list in the back, but it says currently dead.
Mm-hmm.
But they do give stats for if you worship him, for if you want to play a game before he died. Makes
sense. So we're getting a new edition of Stay Frosty, which is a basically it's a sci-fi RPG with an old school TTRPG feeling to it of future Marines versus the universe. It's a basically sci-fi, more military RPG. I'm trying to look up when the original edition came out. But I haven't found that yet, just because,
I wonder if this will run Doom. Sorry. I know. I mean, I'm saying you could play Doom.
I'm going to say seriously. Probably because you could run Doom, but like as an RPG version of it.
I know. That was the joke.
I'm like, yes. As soon as you said that, I was like, yes. It looks like the original version of it, at least one that's up on DriveThruRPG, was out in 2017, so 7 years ago. So it's a pretty decent point in time to get a remastered version of it, honestly, after 7 years. Pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it's up on BackerKit. It has reached its goal with 10 days left. Not as good as BackerKit as I am with like some of the other crowdfunding sites. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean, 800 backers. Its goal was very low. Its goal was 3,000 GBP. I don't know. Great British Pounds.
Okay.
My brain was like, what is that? I'm like, all right. So they didn't need a lot, but 800 backers, 10 days left. Basically, it's one of those things where it's like, I think it's just to cover certain, like an initial boost and get some shipping costs and stuff covered. And some initial printing costs. 2
introductory adventures to start a campaign. Basically rules for not only making characters, but making a team. Vehicle rules, weapon rules, psychic powers, apparently a random mission generator. That's always good. I like kind of things like that. That's always a good story point to start out with. Because honestly speaking, the mission is only part of it sometimes. Maybe that's the entire story you're telling, or maybe when you go on a mission, something happens that changes the story, especially in these more like, I guess this would be like a generalized version of like makes me feel like generalized version of the Space Marine adventures from like Aliens, but it also could be like Doom, as you said, was like was a good one for these kind of like shooter kind of things.
Yeah. No, I honestly think it's a fun idea. I would love to run a war based because I actually do kind of like the whole military type setting. I think it'd be a fun RPG to run. You'd have to have players who are understanding of the fact that they need to take directions. That is one thing that's hard, is players want to be the boss, not be the employee.
Yeah, I feel like
you need to have the right group for it, but I think it's fun.
I do feel like military helps a little bit because most players, most people can understand that a little bit more, especially like if you are sent on something and then you're on your own to figure out what's going on a lot more times. That may allow the adaptation to it a little bit better. You've got your orders, but you've got to what the hell's going on here? Can we stick with it? I don't know. I'm not sure. They say the system's based on the Black Hack TTRPG framework. We're known for streamlined D&D inspired mechanics. I don't know a lot about the Black Hack mechanics, so I can't tell you a lot about it. It's a 4 tribute system, brains, brawn, dexterity, willpower, and it is a 1d20 based resolution system. So it is a different system than D&D, but it will feel familiar to a degree for you if you were familiar with 5e. It is basically a probably quick action-oriented detail system. Okay.
Okay, so it's got a dice based on supplies, which I actually think is nice. I think players need mechanics that are not literally count the number of bullets you shoot. That is problematic for players. I have learned, unless you're me, I am the one player that I know who will keep track of that stuff. This is why I'm the one who kept track of all the items in our Crimson Queen game, because I'm the one who likes to make spreadsheets and do math.
I've been there. If I don't have to be that person, I'm not that person, but I have been that person before. So I'm kind of in that middle. I don't mind it, but I would prefer. But I'm like, if someone else wants to do it, I'm fine with that.
I was more mad about having to step up and be the one who took notes. I don't like to take notes.
That was something that I also kind of get annoyed at. Because, like, I take a lot of my own notes in every game, honestly, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm someone who, like, I'll take notes because I feel like I should, but then I'm like, I'm the only one taking notes? Come on.
Like, for Joe's game, you've got notes. I have a whole lot of notes. Now, granted, I can always go through my notes because my notes aren't really organized very well, but I have
Mine is literally just chronological taking notes, so I'm like, let me scroll up, let me find them.
I like switch between sections, which is the problem too, because I use the bio section of my character sheet.
Oh god, I made a separate. Right, I made a separate.
I never do that. I just use the bio section of the character sheet. Or it's like any kind of like that. This is actually traditionally what I've done anyway. I will do that for like, God, I can find old character sheets with game notes. Like, written in such weird places on the character sheets that are, like, around edges and stuff. Fun. Like, I'll make notes of stuff, you know, like, I'm like, oh, I gotta remember this. I'll put this down over here. It's, like, over on the edge. I'm like, oh, yeah, I put that over there.
I mean, there's a reason that I could find stuff. I'd probably say about 50% of the time I found, like, a piece of information before you in Crimson Queen, because I take notes. Same thing with Joe. I'd probably say...
Crimson Queen, because I was running it, I took far less notes, because I think that's one of those things about running it, but sometimes I do take notes, but not as many as I should sometimes. I think that's something for running that.
For running a module, I do make a lot less notes, and it does come back to bite you. Like, modules that have, like, a lot of stuff, it's true. If it's like you feel like, I can just go look it up, but that can be problematic in the moment.
Yep. So, recently, as shown on, I guess, Dimension 20, they showed off Never Stop Blowing Up, which is a game system, and it is being offered free.
Oh, fun.
Yep. This is based on the Kids on Bikes system in their rule set. It's a game that I've read a little of the rules in the Kids on Bikes, but I've never really dived into it. I know some friends that did it years ago.
My sister has played a game of it. I know that much.
It was again. So it was featured on Dimension 20. It's on the Dropout. I guess the people that created it. It's on the web store for free. The Dropout store. Yeah, it's 4 pages. The basic concepts. Players have 9 stats. Each represented by a D4 to start. You make a player check with a specific stat. Yep. And there's like a blow-up system. Again, you'd have to... This is me refamiliarizing myself to a degree with some Kids on Bike stuff. But again, it seems cool that we're getting not only showing up of a version of a system that's been out now, but offering it for free. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And it's action-themed kind of adventures. So you want like simple action kind of themed RPGs? Hey, you can never stop blowing up.
Yeah,
that's a hell of a game.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, like, because my sister told me she played Kids on Bikes, but I'm like trying to remember what she like did. I don't remember what she did. I remember her story about her. I forget what it is, where it's like you play as goblins who just want to die, who basically just die. It's like basically, it's like you see how you can kill your goblins by the end. I forget that one. Anyway, sorry. I was just thinking about the games my sister has played in.
Fine. So, yep, I just wanted to throw that one out there as an interesting one. Another thing to quickly throw out there, as we kind of cycle through... Oh, I did move over to Never Stop Blowing Up there. Whoops. Switch over. My bad. Star Trek 2E has a starter set that's coming out. So I think that's a pretty good one to throw out there as a thing you might be interested in if you want to dive into Star Trek Adventures, this new edition of it, and starter sets are always good. It's got a simple rules booklet, a campaign booklet, a three-part campaign you could run, ship and character sheets, reference sheets, tokens, all those things.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think I own the Star Trek Adventures 2nd edition. Yeah.
I don't remember if I got it or not. If not, maybe I'll pick it up physically.
That's a good idea.
I have to make a list of like maybe books that I want to physically get for PAX Unplugged. You know, not that.
I mean,
really
well, yeah, you can get the. Oh, if they have the actually, that's something they might do. If they have the they might have the monster manual ahead of time for PAX Unplugged.
True, they might. So. It's not so far out that I can't see them.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, if you can get a hold of that, you should.
Alright. And we have one final topic, which is an interesting one, and it's an interesting one because not only is this matching a RPG we talked about more recently, like in the last year, the Marvel RPG, this is redoing a classic. So, DC Heroes RPG was originally published by Mayfair Games back in 1985. And apparently 3 editions were published, with the last being out in 93. So after 40 years, Cryptozoic is going to be giving us a new version of this. There you go, there's a link to the waiting page for their Kickstarter, which is going to be starting soon. So, you know, again, it's the
Marvel,
other...
Now we got to see.
Yeah. I think it's cool that it is a classic RPG that, again, is like reaching that 40th anniversary. Damn. And we're getting, like, a new version of it. I'm curious as to how updated the rules are and stuff like that, but we don't really know a lot about it, other than it's a new edition of it. We have seen some role-playing stuff from Cryptozoic, but not a whole lot. I think they did the Adventure Time RPG, Cryptozoic, I believe. Not 100% on that off the top of my head. Just let me go to Cryptozoic's section.
Adventure Time RPG is Cryptozoic Entertainment.
Yep, I was right. I remember they did. So they have done some RPGs in the past. I don't remember what I heard about that at the time, but I think they've got enough skill at these kind of things. And this doesn't surprise me that they're doing this too. They do a lot of like DC themed stuff. I guess for a lot of like tabletop and some other products they've got, and some collectibles and stuff they've got the license. So it logically makes sense that they could get the role-playing games ability to reprint that, redo that. So we'll have to wait and see how it links to the old system. Are they going to be just doing a revamped, modern version of the original RPG system from that? Are they going to be doing something a little new, up their wheelhouse? I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes. When is it going to go live? We don't have a date limit. They just say launching soon, unfortunately, so we don't have an exact date of when they are planning to have it going up. They say sometime... I don't have an exact date yet. So, if I get that date, we'll let people know. I guess
yeah, it might be because they don't have an exact date yet. They might still be getting something together.
Yeah, they've put up the like launch page for the Kickstarter. They've announced it. It's hey, it might be, and honestly, it might be early next year for the 40th anniversary, and that'll be out then next year, like later on in the year. I don't know. We'll see. So, but nonetheless, we've got Cryptozoic giving us back a classic. Thought that would include one. So, let's talk about our deeper discussion topic, because I got an interesting one that I thought we could kind of handle here. Custom magic items. And this is a thing that I think I have been pretty adverse against for a while, but not against in certain ways. What do I mean by that? Well, like, most of the time I've made a custom magic item, I have used the Pathfinder 1st edition custom magic item rules, which are very cut and dry. They are okay, they aren't great, but they do very simple things, like, oh, this is how much money it is if I want to have a magic item that gives me the effects of a feat, or this one for a spell, how many times I can use it, or maybe if I want to spell permanently on me, this is how much money it is magic item form, or something like that. Those rules are very much there. They don't allow for a lot of very creative flexibility of some kind of magic items and abilities sometimes, too. And I think this is an interesting thing that you were talking about. You weren't saying in the DMG they have some...
Yep. They have a section on creating magic items.
And I think that's very good to have a better section for that. I don't know how good their section is there, particularly, but I think the thing about it is, and this is one of those things, is...
I mean, they suggest that one of the easiest ways to do it is just to modify a current item, basically altering its capabilities to something similar. So, as example, potion of climbing to potion of swimming. So give you a swim speed instead of a climb speed. Altered form, basically cloak of protection to a ring of protection. Altered damage type, flame tongue sword to lightning sword. And then combining, what does it say? Combining items. Provided no more than one of them requires attunement. You combine a helm of comprehend language with those of the helm of telepathy into a single helmet. This makes the item more powerful and probably increases its rarity, but won't break your game. Okay.
Combo.
So might increase the rarity, but otherwise it's not like totally broken. Yeah, because that allows like one person to use two things in the same slot.
Yeah. I think it's also like a lot of that is the very simple rules, but it's also like certainly you can get a lot of third-party items, and then there's also like let's take I can take examples of in some games. Joe has given some very interesting items that I don't think are like I have the Wand of Some Webs in Joe's game.
Yeah, which is basically just a wand of webs.
It is just a wand of webs with like a little bit of an extra thing.
I think the extra thing is that it has writing in it when you cast it or something. I forget what the writing's supposed to be, but
I never remember the writing. But there's also like some other like weird little items that he has, and I don't know if he just found those online. But those kind of things, I think in low level games, especially very creative items, can be really cool. Granted, I'm probably gonna use that Wand of Some Webs for a long time.
It's a good
web
item.
is helpful. I think that's the thing is, they can be kind of silly and good too, but they can also be creative and good too. And I think that's one of those things that I also like. Like, I don't know if it's an actual item, but I was thinking of it in the game that that Momo's running. I have a hat that gives me a special ability, but also once per day, I can cast Moonbeam. But it is also a Moonbeam that's slightly larger area, which means I both have to it means I can hit more enemies, but it also means I have to watch out to not hit my allies a lot too. And I thought that was a really neat idea and a neat item. And so items like that, I really enjoy that give you stuff like that. That's something creative, something that's interesting. It's like, I feel like we need more of that kind of stuff. And with running pre-made games, I've been less likely to make stuff like that. And I'm kind of been like almost regretting that. But I've been relying on that too a little bit. So maybe, I want to do more custom stuff. I can say personally now. Which I have done in the past, but like with a lot of this stuff now and like the rules, I definitely like in Pathfinder 2 we want to look up the custom items and then come up with some cool ideas for some things, and like or like
I forget 2E's custom item rules. I haven't looked at those.
I haven't looked into those. I looked at those long time ago, back when they originally come out. So I don't know if they've changed things with the remaster and how much they have.
What?
That was English. Have if they have. Wow.
I assume it's GM Core.
Probably GM Core would have it, yeah.
This is why I wanted a bookshelf behind my green screen.
Makes sense.
But yeah, I kind of like they actually give some guidance, like for making your own as well. They give in the DMG, they give ideas about like, you know, it shouldn't give you more than a +1 if it's uncommon, a +2 if it's rare, a +3 if it's very rare, and a +4 if it's legendary. They talk about maximum spell levels, basically if it's got a benefit that's comparable to a spell, you do it like this, or if it's table highest level effect should be conferred following once per day or similarly limited property. A rare or very rare magic item might allow its processor to cast a lower level spell more frequently. Yeah, the maximum bonus is for AC or AC or bonus based on the item's rarity.
So they have some basic kind of guidelines.
Yeah,
an idea of some things, which is good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they also. I mean, it's hard to basically give a here. I mean, unless you want to go Pathfinder 1E and list every option and how to combine it, you know.
Well, Pathfinder 1E does a good job, but it's not perfect either. You know,
I agree.
But yeah, no, I feel like having interesting custom items to your world too does add a lot. Like, especially like in different regions too, certain items might be different. We always think about like the items in a book, but like, you know,
yeah, like maybe in one area. I mean, I like the idea of just altering a thing. Like oh, in one area it's more common to put protection on a cloak, whereas in another area it's more common to put it on a bracelet. You know?
Yeah, or it could be something as simple as like, you know, different kind of like alternate bonuses, like, you know, maybe one area where they would make like a flaming sword. Another area they might like prefer making thundering swords or something like that. If you're talking about, you know, different elements, or, you know, it could be, you know, simple things like different stat things, different like abilities, elemental damages, special effects. There's a lot of different things that you can kind of play around with to make more custom items, and I think, honestly speaking, it's one of those things I think is a good thing to do because it adds flavor.
Something that I find interesting too is I want to actually give this, since, you know, this is the D&D books recommendation for attunement. They actually mention whether or not attunement should be a thing, and they say if it's basically there are two things to consider. Basically to limit sharing. Basically if basically being able to pass it around would be disruptive, like, you know, being able to toss a ring of telepathy for the next person to try a roll would be, you know, problematic maybe. Or if it's to limit stacking, to make it so you can't have too many items of a similar type, like I have 5 rings of protection, you know, or I have like, or, you know, I have a headband of intellect, a belt of giant strength, a you know, robe of wisdom, you know, etc.
Yeah.
No, I have every stat now.
Yep. And certainly speaking, there are certain things that you definitely could stack, but also, like, you can mention things. Like, again, you said, like, the Bracer of Defense, specifically say, like, oh, this doesn't stack with, you know, with armor.
Yeah. Yeah. You only get the bonus if you're not wearing armor or using a shield. Yeah.
So, like, there are things you can build into that, you know, and, you know, giving... I think having been watching and seeing more 5e adventures nowadays has definitely inspired me to be like, you know, that's something that can really add something to... And in usable only once items, I think should be out there more. I think it's one of those things is...
Oh yeah, you give players a used once only item and they will never use it, and it's great.
I mean, that's the kind of thing is... I think that's old school thinking in a lot of ways. I will never use this kind of useful only once.
It depends on the player. There's basically 3 types: people who actually make educated guesses, the rarest type, and like actually try and use it in an appropriate time. They're the rarest type. Then you've got people who will basically use it at the first opportunity. They're also kind of rare, and then the people who hoard them, who's the most common, from my experience.
Yeah. I have been both bad and good with it comes to work. I'm not going to.
There's also just the people put it on their sheet and forget about it, actually, I'd probably say that's the most common.
I think
Sorry,
that's
what were you
where I think that's where Pathfinder First Edition can have problems, because it is a very overloaded with magic item system for First Edition at very least. So you can get too many to remember all those things. I think it is a little better in 5e, where you have a more limited amount of matched items usually.
Yeah.
Because honestly speaking, like Bander has a lot of really weird random match items, but you know what I can do? I kind of look through them and remember, are these going to help in this situation? I at least have a selection of them that I can think about and be like, should I... Is the Wand of some webs in this situation really good? Or is this thing here really good in this situation? You know?
You know what I have not used once? The Wand of Magical Weapons. Magic weapon is a terrible spell.
It really is a terrible spell. You're very, very correct on that. I did use the...
It's got too many restrictions. I'm actually curious what it is in the new version. I should look that up. Maybe I can convince Joe to convert it if it's actually better. I kind of doubt it is, though. I think I remember looking it up. I don't think it's better.
I did use the Gem of Brightness once, which I was very happy about, because that's another one of those ones that it has a limited number of charges, but like, I think that's something that I've also felt like more and more. I'm like, you can't be afraid to use this. I think that's me evolving as a player. That having those things and as a resource and using your resources when they are helpful is smart.
Yeah. I agree. I try to remember to use stuff. I mean, like, I actually used a lot of stuff in Crimson Queen. There were a lot of like weird little things I used in Crimson Queen. I never shied away from using my potions and stuff. I mean, at the point when we got a whole bunch of healing wands, I'm just like, just poke me a few times. Like, I'm not gonna bother.
The amount of random like potions and scrolls and stuff they threw out there, it's a lot. I the more we went on, the more I realized the menagerie of weapons Joe had
was hilarious.
I'm not against a menagerie of weapons, but he had like twice the normal menagerie should be. Like, he had like 10 different weapons.
Okay, I'm gonna say
a menagerie at high levels should maybe be like 3 or 4 if you have a menagerie of weapons character, you know?
I'm gonna say this though. The one thing about that is that almost all of them he got during Scarwall. Scarwall just kept throwing axes at us, and we're like, Joe, you can use axes.
I think it's also the thing that, like, it was having to think about how to, like, pertain things to players better would have been a good idea in some ways, which I didn't do a lot of.
You wanna know what I need to use more in Joe's game? Not really a magical item, but the Mind Flayer tent. I need to bring that out more. I just found that hilarious.
I think there's just a bunch of different things that should be used more, and you figure out when to use them a lot of times. It's a challenge.
Wait, hold on. What are dried face melters? I do not remember what that is.
We got a lot of weird shit in Joe's game.
We do. I'm looking at the list right now.
Joe's game, unfortunately, just it hit a lot of point of like, what the fuck weird shit did we get this time?
Mystery demon pastry. That's fun. I still need to find a use for that.
Ooh, demon pastry. What? I also feel like if it did really cool like things, then if we could learn to use it more, like, again, it is just I'm trying to be better at using the things I have in situations, and that's me as a player. I think most good players do that, and a GM giving them options is pretty cool. Of like, here's a couple of things that you can use, and maybe
I really like it.
And as you level up, gain abilities, maybe some of those items stop being as useful. But for like a couple of levels, like, having those things and then using them is very good. I think it's very good. And the custom side of magic items, I think, relates to that very heavily. That when you have a bunch of like custom items, those give you those like interesting options. And it's a good place to be also creative, I think, as a mixture between, DM and player, to have very, like, interesting options that you know a little bit. Because, again, like, I think it's also, like, when you're using pre-made magic items, sometimes you are creating options that you have to move around for what these things will do in the course of a game, which is not necessarily bad. But I think customizing some things, too, can add, like, not only that flavor of an area, it's, I now know more what these items will do in my game world because I've kind of set them up and I know how they're going to, like, affect how the game is going to be played. If you were, does that makes sense? Oh, I'm getting a call. Let me mute myself while you chat.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I was gonna say that magic items are nice. It's good to have. In fact, one item I plan to put in, I'll actually save that for Tantus. Having options is nice. I think it's nice to have options. I think it's also nice just to get bonuses. Like that's the thing. I mean, I know those are generally built in pretty straightforwardly into each game, like +1 armor, blah blah blah. The fact that I don't have like a +1 wand in Joe's game is a little annoying, but I'll get one eventually, probably, maybe.
Yeah. So
a +1 wand, like, because there's wands that give you a +1 to spell attacks, and I'm like, that'd be nice.
Yeah, I think that kind of thing. I think having, like, the ability to trade stuff is very good, too. Like, options of that for, like, items you find.
I like Joe's idea of just trading a rare for a rare. But actually, one thing I was going to say is one item idea I had is basically a shared bag of holding. Basically, it's a bag of holding that, like, comes in a pair of 6, and they all lead to the same space, so that way players can, use them and, like, basically be like, hey, I mean, it's in the shared pool. Now, as long as it's in the group pool, you can, you don't have to worry about everyone, so that way, you don't have to worry about who has the potion of healing.
Yep. Who's got that potion? Who have that thing? Where is that?
Just have to remember that it exists, and you're good.
Yep. I'm just gonna give a little sigh there about that one more. The remembering who has what sometimes can be things related to that happen.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, I think it's just, honestly, I think the most interesting thing is just a MacGuffin that is useful. Like, don't make the MacGuffin just a, it's, an old rusty sword that this guy wants. No, it's a magical sword that they could use, and might actually be a bit painful to give up, but they did promise it to that guy. Are they willing to face his wrath?
Well, you know what? Here's also something, too. Like, really reflavor things, too, in different ways. Like, rather than just be like, oh, here's a healing potion or something like this, here's, like, a special magical fruit that I grew that, heals you, or something like that, that I can harvest. Different things like that, or, like, I got, like, flavoring things in very interesting ways, combined with, like, little special abilities or something like that, combined with all those kind of things, I think can add... In games where magical items are very important, or special items even, giving something that's a little bit more custom can help too. And I think that applies to more than just, like, our fantasy games here. In games where something special or custom can happen, having that is cool.
In a way, this is actually more important in sci-fi games. Sci-fi games, it's kind of... I think a lot of games give you, like, weapons, armor, tools, but, they won't give you, like... Why did my brain go there? I'm just like... Sorry. My brain just thought, like, a weird magical item, and I thought, magical sex toy. And I'm like, probably best not to. Unless you summon, like, a really
I feel the spirit of Joe being summoned even right now.
Did he do that?
He's made jokes about that.
Okay.
Look,
anyway, I would recommend not doing that.
He is a fan of Cyberpunk, and they have the Mr. Stud and Midnight,
Got it.
which are cyber enhancements.
Anyway, sorry, I was just like, I mean, to be fair, in a magical world, that kind of stuff probably would exist. But I wouldn't, emphasize it and give it to players as like a good piece of loot. That's just dumb. Although, if it's actually that reminds me of an STP, which is like a vibrator that like can tear through like steel.
SCPs are weird. I'm not gonna lie.
SCPs are weird, yes.
I haven't looked up many of them. Most of I know from the video games we show them. Anyway, no, I do think sci-fi things.
Sorry, but sci-fi it is important. Yeah, sorry.
It's sort of like in sci-fi. I feel like a lot of those items are going to be more like custom built, but allowing your players to build something a little custom. Like this is my laser blaster with maybe like special sights on them, or my spaceship has this kind of thing installed in it from the normal ones that you can do or something.
I actually like Traveler because even though they give you a list of generic weapons, and they give a lot of generic weapons, they also do have a whole separate book to building your own or customizing things, which I think is nice.
I think that's another reason why I do like some things in the Shadowrun a lot of ways, because they have entire sections and entire books on customizing weapons. Like it's just like, this kind of thing I can customize my gun with and stuff like that, and like little things that give little like bonuses here and there, but also can add to it. And the same for like vehicles and stuff like that. They in equipment they've had a lot of good customization, so certainly opening that up even more with some like unique things wouldn't be bad and kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I remember I was going through and making a list of like neat items that could work for like a Traveler game I was going to run at some point. Like, and yeah. So, I just thought, like in a sci-fi universe, it's like a generic thing that people might have. Like, I mean, that's one thing. It was like, I remember just fluffing up like comm things. I'm like, oh yeah, you can have one that wraps around your wrist. You can have one that folds up. You can have one that rolls up. You can have one that, it's like each group has each planet has a different preference for how to use which type of compad they use.
Yeah. I like, even like you could probably do a little bit of this in modern games too. Certainly speaking, like special custom items. I guess. I a good modern game to like point out like World of Darkness, but then there's also like weird relics and stuff you can certainly use that just give some weird abilities with that kind of thing. But like even just like if you don't go that route and just want to give people like a cool item, you can. Like, oh hey, you got like a custom pistol, like this kind of thing in it or something, or a custom this, adding in customization, personalization, and unique things that you've customized to your players, certainly speaking, will basically help ingrain them more into the world, because it's something that's theirs particularly. This is mine. It's sort of like, again, it's the named sword kind of thing that I talked about with the low magic fantasy, or something like that, where you don't have as many magic weapons, just having like, this is my grandfather's axe of doom, which he slayed this entire thing with, and it's like, this is my thing with my name, and it's connected to me and my character, can just add on that level, and certainly speaking, this is a little bit of steps away from like the customization of magic items for just cool magical effects, but it's the same kind of idea. Giving something a little bit more unique adds a little bit more flavor, and it's like, oh, this is something that I wouldn't have known about. This is kind of cool. This is kind of neat. This is something I want to experiment with, because it's something different than just the basic stuff. Like me, I don't know as many of the basic magic items in 5e, but I've been around the role-playing games enough to know a lot of the basic kind of magic items, kind of things that are out there. So you give me something interesting and different, I'm like, well, that's kind of neat. What can I do with it? Is it useful? Can I be creative with it? It basically helps spark some of that creativity sometimes,
I mean, I think there's a lot of cool stuff you can get from either like reading books. Like some books are really interesting. with the way they handle magic items. But I was also another thing you could do is basically just look at other RPGs. Like I remember something which I like and really need to hand out at some point in even a D&D game or a Pathfinder game. I'd do this, but from Changeling the Lost, not Changeling the Dreaming, but the Lost. So that's the Chronicles of Darkness people ones.
Yes.
There's one of my favorite magical items I ever ran into, which is a pebble that you put into your shoe, and your shoes will never ever be dirty, but it's uncomfortable to walk in because it's a pebble in your shoe.
I really like that. I'm not going to lie.
Right? Isn't that great?
That's so good. It's stuff like that that's just good stuff. Yeah. That's fun. The uncomfortable shoe pebble. That's very good. Yeah.
It's like, but it keeps my shoes so shiny and clean.
It does. But ow. Oh man. Yeah, I think that's
painful. It's just annoying. You know, like that's the thing. It gives you no stat penalties. It just specifies that it's annoying.
I think that's where like a lot of very good adventuring can come out of. It's like really creative places like this. And, I think when you bring creativity to your table, your players will usually respond in kind. I think that's an important part about doing things that are unique or custom in your game world. Also begins to spark some ideas about that and have their favorites, and they can be something as simple as like it has like a special damaging effect or something like that, or it's got a once a day ability on this. Oh, it's my axe that also does this thing once a day, or again a wand which creates some webs but also can have a message in it, which I never remember. Honestly, and I really should use it for the message occasionally because that could help.
Yeah. Or honestly, you could just draw a picture of someone flipping someone off. Actually, and that's the thing, drawbacks and quirks. I think that's also a real, I'm not saying like big drawbacks, but like the pebble. It's like, you don't even have to give it like a big drawback, and players will honestly find ways to be like, wait, how can I make this less problematic? Like it could totally jump roleplay. Like I have a friend, and I guarantee you if I gave this to him, he'd make a craft check to dig a hole in his shoe and cover it up so that way the pebble didn't bother him. Like he'd go that far to be like, how can I work around this to make it not uncomfortable? And that's the kind of fun stuff you get out of like weird and wacky magic items, or even just minor drawbacks, like the chameleon ring that if you use it to turn into a person, it changes your hair into a random color. We never really got to use that, but it would have been fun. That was in Crimson Queen. It was,
I think, the best minor, supposedly useless item that became the best item ever. The Robe of Tongues in Grinding Gears, where Blaze's character...
Oh yeah, you can just taste things, right?
Just would taste everything, and I think they had a way of extending their senses with their class, I think my best question was ever is as we were going through space, because it was a space adventure where we went from fantasy to space, and he had this thing. He's like, I want to taste a black hole. The statements like that was like, it tastes like, I don't know, dark matter. It's just things like that you could just taste everything. And it's just what does it taste like? And it's God damn it. And it's just it does help with information, but it's just not that helpful. But it was so wonderful the entire time. I loved the Robe of Tongues. It was so silly, and it was perfect because he was playing a catfolk character. The catfolk just tasted everything. It's stuff like that which I think was really fun, and using even minor common magic items that don't have a lot of abilities, for something simple. It doesn't have to be something very powerful. It can have an effect that could be helpful. I think is what it is. Anything could be helpful. Be creative. You can spark creativity with things. Creativity.
So, scientist people have theorized what a black hole might taste like.
Of course they have! Science does that! I'm not gonna lie. Of course they have. That's not unexpected.
But it basically just tastes like space dust, which would basically just be like various metals and component elements.
I'm sure. Shall we talk about our week in gaming? Our week in gaming.
I do want to just say one more. Someone did comment on this Reddit post that I was looking at that gave all the real answers, but there was a fake answer, which is black licorice. I might do that if I was in that situation, that would be the answer I choose. Even if there's a scientifically accurate answer.
That's a very good answer. For some reason, research. We had Joe's game this week. We
oh yeah, we did.
We dropped off a time dragon, and then we got
some boons from it.
Got some boons from it, which were interesting. I like the boons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, allows
that's kind of on
my intelligence for defense, which is cool.
I feel like that was
mine.
A boon is on the same lines as like a custom magic item, but like I do like the idea that it's like a more mystical connection to the time dragon, which we both saved and didn't save. That was a weird situation. Anyway, and then we got to
it saved itself using us.
Yes, we're a useful tool. It's the Chaos Town. It's the Party Town. We got to the Party Town. We hung out in the Party Town, and we like the former god of death. We hung out and we played with like bocce ball with, except with skulls, and we basically hung around with a demigod and convinced her to like cheer up because she wasn't on a list for a party or something like that. Which is a really terrible reason.
Well,
really, she
no,
wanted to get to the party because she was
depressed
about her. She's depressed about her family. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, she got like it was a mixture of things. Like her sister was invited to the party and she wasn't. Her sister also like got won her hammer in a bet, and like basically she just was feeling very upstaged by her sister.
Yeah, sibling rivalry.
Also, the town connects to Arborea, which is I think like more of the, which I think is like a bit more naturey chaos. It's like chaotic good. I think it's like Sylvan stuff, yeah. So it's like Fae stuff. Yeah, it's Fae. It's Fae. That's why it's like party and tricksters and weird, because it's Fae.
Yeah. So I think it was an interesting session. It was an interesting place to visit. Mm-hmm. Not gonna lie,
it did make me.
I am happy we're getting done this section of the adventure. It's kind of at that point visiting all these places. It's like at the edge of almost wearing itself out as a concept. So I'm glad we don't have to go to more. Honestly,
I'm glad we didn't have to do all 6.
Yeah, there were certain ones in there.
Or no, all 7. Sorry, there were 7.
Yeah, because we visited 4. I think 4 was a good number.
Yeah, it's been fun. I didn't do a ton. Which was kind of nice. That was kind of nice just to watch Joe, or not Joe, Bander, be, comfort this person.
Yeah, I was comforting her, helping her out in a time of need and like emotional distress.
Mm-hmm. You got your session to shine.
Yes. Look, I'll take one. Most of them are shut down because I can't negotiate with anybody. Anyway,
I did like the point where it's all like, "How can we help?" And you're like, "God damn it!" We're just like, "Damn it, damn it!" And I went, "Why did you stop offering to help every time someone has a problem?
Stop volunteering us." It's like I think it's the entire thing of stop volunteering us. Let's find out what's going on first, and then if we need to, we can interfere. We don't have to help out everywhere. We're only 4 dudes in a giant moving tower.
I just love my naive, optimistic character.
It's a good character.
Who's also surprisingly self-absorbed when it comes to learning.
Yep. So that was a good session. I had a Tuesday game where we we went through a weird tower that was attacked by cultists that turns out to be like a place where an ancient demigod was sealed, kind of. basically we discovered more about the ancient empire that had a colony on this continent here. And it turns out they were basically magical space empire that was trying to conquer the universe from various planets. Which was, such a wonderful thing to find out about. We basically got a lot more backstory, and we basically found the mind of a person we had rescued the other week, who's like some kind of like demigod, that basically removed their mind so they could watch over this place, but also like sealed their body away because again they were just a demigod. And we basically recombined them, so now they're in the tower as a person, and we still have to fight basically the evil empire that's trying to resurrect her like godmother, which would be really bad because her godmother, she led basically a bunch of the demigods to remove her as she was trying to basically conquer the universe and become like a, super god or something. I don't know. It's a weird story, interesting, but very complex, and we're just some random people that are involved in this now, and I don't know what direction we're going with the adventure. I thought we were just going to investigate things and fight a madness cult, but there might be more grand adventures to be had, so we'll see. And we didn't have a Wednesday because of working stuff in the background. So that wasn't good. Did you do anything else tabletop related? I don't think I did this week.
No. I've been trying to organize images so that way I can actually like make maps on stream, and I've been doing a poor job of actually succeeding at having time to do that, where I'm not exhausted. But also, we didn't have Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, I'll probably have an off-screen kind of character building system looking over for Momo and Joe. We can kind of talk about some characters and do some basics.
Is Momo actually joining the 2E game?
I think Momo is going to join. Is looking into it.
Yeah.
So theoretically should join if nothing comes up. But we discussed things, and with my aim of how long the game will go to, because it's going to be a much shorter game. Definitely like half to a quarter of the time of the last one, and the last one was even shorter than Buccaneers. So it's sort of like I'm aiming for like not that long this of a game overall. I think I said between like 20 to 25 sessions is my goal in mind. I was going to have like 5 major story arcs, each with 4 or 5 sessions that I was planning. If there's less, if there's more, we'll kind of play it out as we do the game systems, but that's kind of like, generally speaking, what I aim for in the basic outline / writing of it, so, of like this 2.5 hour sessions. And, I feel like getting some things established, certainly speaking, yes, it helps to have people work on characters together. Yes, if I add anybody else, which I'm kind of beginning looking for some people, it would basically, having things established also is good too, because people know where other characters are coming from to a degree. Like, I could be like, oh, this is the, ancestry, class background of the other characters, as you kind of would, you generally can talk about them. So, like, and, I do think I want to work with people when it comes to character creation a lot more than I did with some of the previous games, because it would get me more understanding of where characters are coming from. And I'm not going to have everybody like reveal everything under the backgrounds, but it'll be like, if you're working on characters together, you can be like, this is the stuff people would know about me, kind of thing, for background stuff. And those message me, there's secret hidden stuff in the background we can work together on, blah, 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 hidden backstories. And it makes some interesting things about characters.
Yeah.
I'm up for some creativity, I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. But that'll be next Wednesday.
Does your world have awakened animals?
Yes. But I will tell you, I did go through all the ancestries, and awakened animals are on there, because there are some interesting magics that could have created some of them. Also, like, remaining familiars. Certainly in where you're going to be at, traditionally these things are more accepted than they would have been from the Western countries. The Eastern countries, which are a little bit more wild, there's a lot more stranger magics out there. Awakened animals, though, tend to find a lot of more prejudices and like suspicions in larger cities, but in smaller communities, they actually can find something like a familiar that's lost, something that like gains some sentience through magic by accident, you do find more primal magics in these regions. So.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Because I do want to try playing an awakened animal. Like, that is... I want to play a tiny animal.
It could be something we can discuss, certainly speaking. It wouldn't be outside possibility.
I can understand if it doesn't fit what we're going for as the group. But it's just something I want to do, even if it's not this game.
Honestly speaking, I could see it working... not a perfect Brit, but it's not something impossible to work out. That's why, like, I did remove some ancestries from my list that I've worked through, but I did go through a lot of them and kind of discuss where they are. It's an interesting, like, I can talk a little bit about it. It's the back end of the world you're in. The continent's almost fallen. You're in the last country that's there, but there's a background of the other 10 countries that are there, the other continents. There are basically only 3 known continents that are fairly connected together. And also, it's a land where the gods aren't dead, but are lost. So no one remembers the names of the gods. Most gods are actually just, like, worshipped as a group. And there are only a few, I think I've said there was only going to be 15, that their titles are at least known. There's a god of the dead, but they're only known as the god of the dead now, you know, and they are still worshipped. I don't know the name. Yeah, but the names have been lost, and there are plenty of deities that have been lost with this kind of strange thing of, like, the divine power is not as easily gained from them, and, like, one of the countries was all about keeping the power of the lost gods, so divine energy didn't go away. And so you might have some survivors from that country that have kept the divine power around. So, like, oh, I follow the god of the dead. What is his name? No one knows anymore. But, like, I'm connecting with his, you know, what remains of his power. It's like, it's the idea of there is a spark of that power back there, and they're kind of like, you know, keep throwing tinder on.
Rarer in your setting.
Yes. They aren't impossible to have.
So
Masters of Arcane Magic. But you won't know the name of your god, and you are basically keeping the kindling a light on your god. Almost you have to think of it.
It kind of makes me think of actually Dark Souls in a way was also a thought that came to mind, where it's like the gods are like, you know, hey, play off the faith of people, but it's like a, you know, weird little thing where it's like kind of dying or missing or whatever. But no, where was I going? You mentioned clear. Oh yeah, no. In Dark Sun, how like your characters can play a sorcerer, but good luck, you're gonna be hunted. You know, it's like they're rare for that reason. So it's like,
it's just also like at this point in time, only primal magic is probably the most common because the 3 countries that were masters of arcane, occult, and divine magic have all fallen at this point in time anyway. So, you know, the Elven Nation was the one that was in charge of the arcane magic more, with some primal magic, and there was a country that was kind of a little separated out in the north western corner of the country, of the continent, that delved into occult magic, where a lot of it was like basically a coalition of these bunch of other rarer ancestries that didn't appear outside of these borders, with some like humans and stuff like that. So that's kind of like a little bit of interesting thing. So I did set up for a lot of different ancestries, so there's a lot of choices and some variant ancestries. A bunch of them are also fine too. But I think my two things the only things I have left to do is put together a basic timeline of some information, and then the little bit of information on the gods. Like the 15 remaining, which I think I was going to say, like 10 are the like common gods, and there are 5 actual minor gods where their titles are remembered. Like there's I think I was going to say, like the goddess of song still is remembered as a goddess of song. Oddly enough, you know, as a minor deity. Why is her title and that knowledge known? No one knows. Something has kept her alive.
Yeah.
Her spark around. Anyway.
I do know there are a few ancestries which aren't on Nethys yet. I forget which ones they are, but I noticed a few.
You would have to hit me up with those. Like, I also removed all the aquatic ancestries because whether or not they exist is unimportant to this. They are not connected with any people in the continents.
Yeah, I don't play a mermaid. Got it. That's fair.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what it was, but it was definitely something that was more recent. I don't remember what it was. Like it was.
All the stuff from How the Wild is up, and as I said, some of those I was able to keep. Like Minotaur, I was able to fit in there. Centaur was able to fit in pretty easily.
I think the thing I was thinking of was the TNZ World Guide or Character Guide.
Okay, there might be some stuff from that that's not up there.
There was only a few though. It wasn't like like an Oni and stuff.
Oh, okay. Because I know, like, I put in Kitsune are around, but they are
they were made before, so they only were mentioned in that book. They weren't a new thing.
But the Kitsune of the continent were basically nomadic travelers because they were on a large island off the coast to the west that was destroyed in a volcanic eruption. So the remainder basically came to the continent and haven't really found a exact home. So that was my kind of story. But anyway, I've got the doc that I'm going to provide to everybody to check out when you're ready to. I can probably share that document on my stuff or stuff I've written. Something. Alright, so I guess we can call it for today. That's a good spot to stop. I think there's some food downstairs. That's what I got to call about. So get that soon.
Oh, they might have added them by now.
I didn't see anything there, but I did. There's definitely a lot of stuff that I basically went through most of the stuff in the archive.
I just remembered what one of them was, and it was the snake people, the Naji. That are in here, but they are on here now. So,
okay. Yeah. Most of the ancestors in there I did use. There was a few that I did remove because I couldn't think of a good place to put when it came to fitting in with the set. So, anyway.
No, I think that's what it was. I was looking for the whatever. It's whatever. There's some stuff here.
Yep. Thank you everybody for joining us today. Hope you had a good day. Worm, where can people find you? Can you give it a shout out?
I'm DiamondWyrm. You can find me on twitch.tv/DiamondWyrm or @DiamondWyrm on Twitter. My content is terrible right now. Don't watch. I'll get better. Works is just hard, and I've been tired, and I've been down on myself about how I feel like I just don't have energy in my streams. But I have been having fun streaming, so.
I mean, that's one of those things about it, is as long as you have fun, it's going to be shown, even if you're not as, like, you're busy. You're not giving, like, the 100%, but you're having fun and giving, like, as much as you can to the stream, and that usually does show and help you.
Yep. So the character guide is not in yet.
Myself, Dracovin. You can find me here Tuesday through Saturday. Hey, look at that. My schedule goes up usually on Monday. I give all my Twitch streaming schedule and my YouTube upload schedule both on those days so people have an idea of what's coming out for the week and when I'm either streaming or recording stuff live. I'll be probably doing a bunch of Elden Ring this week. I might spend Monday doing like some farming stuff against some levels because, I kind of got like 2 bosses which are annoying to fight, and I just want to get rid of one of them, and then the other I won't have to worry about as much, or I'll figure it out later. I eventually will. I might just have to look up like builds and stuff using what my stats are, because I don't want to respec or anything, and just see what I can build. Add what I've done. I can work on some of these bosses. Because I'm not doing a terrible job, it's just not, work on it. But it's fun. I've been enjoying that. Got to be into pretty much the last boss of the DLC. And we finished up Resident Evil 4 last week. If you didn't see me doing that, the remake. That was really good. I do recommend that. That was probably the best of all the remakes. Maybe the GameCube Resident Evil 1 is a better remake. That's a tough one. That's a really good one. But out of all the remakes, the modern ones, 2, 3, and 4. 4 is best. Anything else to shout out? The new game will be happening relatively soon. Might still be a few more weeks, but we're doing this stuff in the background. I'm working on stuff in the background. As you see, I'm working with people for some character creation. So, I'll when I have an exact schedule and plan set up, I will announce it to everybody. So, hope you be ready for that. hope you'll enjoy it. Anyway, everybody, I think we'll pop off. I'll be back next week. Hopefully, Worm will be back to join me, or some other folks for discussing tabletop next Saturday at 6. So if you join us there, live, or check us out later on as we talk about more news of the week and more of these topics and dive into things. And I hope you enjoyed everything we talked about. Until that time, I bid all of you out there a deep and wonderful farewell to you all. Goodbye.